Hello there, welcome back to Sang. This is Intermediate Scratch Lesson 2. Alrighty, we're going to start off this lesson with a review. So, feel free to pause your video right now and answer these three questions. What are the three main types of blocks? What is the purpose of broadcasting? And what two blocks do you need for broadcasting? Do that, and I will just go over the answers now. So, what are the three main types of blocks? We have action, conditional, and reporter blocks. What is the purpose of broadcasting? It's to send a message through the program. And what two blocks do you need for broadcasting? You need the broadcast and the receive block. Now background. So for our game, we do have a background, and how we use this background is we scroll it, and what I mean by that is basically we're going to move our background to make it look like our sprite is moving. So scrolling is the sliding of sprites in order to make it look like the background is moving. Some common uses are scrolling text, large maps, or big pictures. Scrolling is used because Scratch limits the size of sprites, so you can't have a really big sprite where you just move that across. You need multiple different sprites. And in our game, it can be used to make it look like the character is moving. So here's an example of scrolling in our program. If you can see here, when I start this game, as I press my right and left keys, the background is moving, and it looks like the sprite is moving, but the sprite actually isn't. It's the sprites, right? It's the background. We're saying right here, and the background is moving. All right, so hopefully you understood that. All right, so here, scrolling sprites. Since we are making a platformer, right? That's our big project for this session. We're gonna need multiple platforms for the player to jump on, for our sprite to jump on, and we're gonna make these platforms as sprites, so it won't be in our background. All right, but for the background, or quote unquote background, right? These are sprites. We're going to use at least 4 sprites to create our background, and it should be like a platforming map requiring jumps for players to progress. So if you can see in this video, not this video, sorry, in this picture, one platform is a little higher than the other, and there's a gap in between, meaning you can't just walk and get onto the next one. We want to make it a little difficult. Obviously, we don't want it super difficult, but it's still difficult enough to where, you're not just walking in a straight line. And so drawing. So how do you draw on Scratch? First, you're going to want to create a sprite. We learned this in the beginning, but I can go over it again once I go through all of this, right? You're going to click on costumes and select the entire sprite and delete it. Then you're going to customize the color in the fill section and use the pen tool to draw. So let me open up Scratch real quick. I'm just going to use this. Let's see. And we have this little button here. We can choose one of these 3 options here. You can either choose paint, which just sends you automatically here, changing the color through fill and drawing. Oops, sorry, that's the mouse button. Using the pen tool in drawing, right? Or, let me delete that. We can choose one of these and say I want to choose this. I'm going to select it, delete it, and then start drawing again. Alright, hopefully that made sense. That's basically how you're going to do it. And what you want to do is you want to basically draw one of these little platforms, making it as long or as big as you want. Just make sure that, it works and it's not too big, but also not too small. You can also include these like shrubs, or you can make some trees. You can put a cloud in there. Make it look pretty. All up to you though. So, code for scrolling, right? We're not just going to have the platforms there. They kind of have to move, right? So how are you going to do that? We're going to have different code for each separate platform or background sprite. But first, in order to, get it to scroll, to get it to move, we need a variable. And we're going to call this variable scroll x. This variable will be used to determine the x value of the background sprites. So scrolling, the first step, we have for each background sprite, you want to have the code in the top right of my screen here. You want to copy that over. The blank spots in this code are for the y and the x of your platform. As you can see, the second block in the program is set y to, what this basically says is how high I want my block or my platform. So maybe I want it floating in the air, or maybe I want it really low. And then X is how far horizontally. So on the x-axis, right? Where is it on the x-axis? And then how far is it away from the other platforms? So if I want to have a gap in between two platforms, or if I want them right next to each other. You can figure out the x and y value by using the coordinates shown in the stretched canvas. What this means is basically if you drag around your sprite, you can see it appear in the coordinates section below the canvas. Let me give you an example here. If I'm going to use this sprite, you can see this is my x and y, and the x is where it is currently, and the y is where it's how high it is right now. And if I move this around, you'll notice that my x and y change. That's basically how I'm going to see where I want it. So if I want my platform all the way up here, then I'm going to copy down this y for set y2. And if I want it really far over here, then I'll have 174 as x. All right, so x value, yep. I believe I just went over this x and y. You're gonna move the sprite to where you want it, and then check the coordinates for where you want to put it. All right, so this is an example of the x value and how it changes. You'll notice that the height doesn't change of anything really. They're all the same height, but a major difference is that the platforms are different, right? They have different spaces between them, and they're not right next to each other. Like in the first image, the second image, there's a huge gap, right? That's basically how the sprites are moving, or how our sprite looks like it's moving, how our background sprites are moving. And then how do we prevent overlapping sprites? What I mean by overlapping sprites is basically, right, it's overlapping sprites. Our background sprites, they might overlap if we put them too close to each other, and it's just gonna look kind of weird if you can see here, right? There's two different sprites here, and it just sort of gives a weird vibe. It looks kind of funny. You don't really know where it is, right? And this can lead to confusion with the game. And overall, if we don't have overlapping sprites, it just makes our game a lot smoother. So, how are you going to prevent this? We're going to have a black border around our screen, which basically makes the background smoothly connected. This is how to create a black border. You want to make another sprite and have it delete all of it, or you can use the pen or just the draw tool, I guess, the draw option to make a sprite, and then make 4 black rectangles around your around the edge. And then this is the code for our black border. What you want to have is when I receive game start. So this is basically a message, right, to start your game. If you remember broadcasting, we're going to send this message out later, and then we're going to have show. So what this does is you're not going to see it at first, but once our game starts, once it moves on from our thumbnail side, we're going to show it. Then forever, we're going to go to the front layer. So we want to be on the very top, okay? If it's in the back layer, that means it's not going to be shown. It's going to be behind everything. It's on you can imagine it as the very bottom of a stack of paper, right? We want it on the very top so we can see it, and it covers all the overlapping sprites. Now we're going to have go to 0, 0 or x 0, y 0. This basically centers it on our canvas. Okay, a review. How do we prevent sprites from overlapping? How can you find the x and y value for our code? And how do you create your own sprite? Go ahead and pause the video here and try to answer these yourself. Otherwise, I will be going over them now. So, how do we prevent sprites from overlapping? We use a black border so our background is smoothly connected, right? We have the 4 black triangles, or not triangles, sorry, 4 black rectangles on the edge of our screen, and that basically makes it so we have this nice border. How can you find the x and y value for our code? You can drag your sprite around until you like where it is and jot down the value which is below the canvas. How do you create your own sprite? You can create a sprite, click on costumes, delete the whole sprite, and draw your own sprite with pen tool. Or an alternate version, right? You can choose the draw option and just draw your own sprite with the pen tool. Now, give yourself a pat on the back if you got all of these correct. But if you didn't, go to office hours, right? So, what is office hours? Who, where, when, why, how, what, when? Office hours is an hour, 4:15 to 5:15, on Tuesdays and Sundays. Basically, what happens is we have a bunch of teachers there who know, all the different. Basically, they're just really qualified. They know all the languages, so it doesn't really matter who's there, because we always have a teacher who's there who can help you. And you can go there whenever you want. You can leave whenever you want, but you can go drop by, say hi, if you have any questions or something like that. You want to get a little ahead, maybe you want to add something cool that you thought of and you don't really know how, or maybe you just have questions about the lesson, you can go to office hours. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.